my culture banging with strange. I change the game, so what's my motherfucking name?
A chav, a football failure, a CIA dropout, a cheater, a future president, and everyone's favorite fighter who nobody is allowed to punch. Does this guy have something else to say about himself? Yes! The Rock is the most, to the point that he even topped the Disney music charts.
What can I say except you're welcome?
More than 1.3 billion views made his song the most popular in Disney history. The producers made the right bet and even gave the cartoon character Dwayne's Polynesian tribe-style tattoos. Johnson's ancestry background is pretty well known. His grandparents were early pioneers of the local Samoan professional wrestling scene, and his Canadian father, Rocky Johnson, became the first black champion in WWE history.
And at that time in the late 60s, where racial tension and divide was still very strong, and the wounds were still there. But he was able to change behavior, the audience's behavior.
Dwayne usually talks of his father as a forever inspiring hero who instilled discipline in him. He never mentioned Rocky Johnson actually being a notorious womanizer and abuser. Before he cheated on his first wife with Dwayne's mother, he already had 2 children. Later, in 2022, a series of DNA tests revealed at least 5 more of his children.
I had a very complicated relationship with my dad, and it was really, there was a foundation of tough love with my father.
Dwayne's first childhood memory is how his father pushed him into the pool when he was just 2 years old. Rocky's pitiful biography includes accusations of theft and rape. It was hard to provide for 2 families with a reputation like that. The family constantly moved houses, and trapped in poverty, the young Dwayne found himself in all sorts of trouble. Along with a gang of thugs, he robbed clothing stores and jewelry shops.
A lot of shit happened then when I moved to Nashville. I was arrested multiple times by the time I was 16 years old.
The aspiring outlaw did have to slow down a bit after his mother's suicide attempt. After another fight with her husband, she simply ran out in the middle of a highway.
Cars were swerving out of the way. 18-wheelers were swerving out of the way. And I got out of the car and I grabbed her, wrestled her over to the side of the road.
When his parents finally divorced, Dwayne was struck with an eviction notice.
My mom started crying, and I never forgot in that moment. It was a seminal moment for me because I felt like I never want to be in this position again. What can I do?
By that time, Dwayne was already pumping iron at the gym, with classmates calling him the 2-meter giant undercover agent. Johnson easily became the star of the local football team and exalted himself, getting all kinds of university offers. He decided to pursue a full scholarship to the University of Miami, where he majored in criminology and psychology.
I wanted to work for the CIA.
Well, thank God that didn't happen.
However, he didn't manage to become a proper CIA agent because he was constantly distracted from studying. Dwayne got involved in a relationship with his future wife, Danny Garcia, and was actively partaking in anabolic steroids to help him excel at the sport. Johnson won the student championship, but his position in the Miami Hurricanes team was soon taken by an emerging football star, Warren Sapp. With a GPA of 0.7, Dwayne barely finished college, and having no other skills, he left to join the Canadian Football League.
Calgary Stampeders making $250 a week Canadian. Now, I had to send that home to my wife at that time. Had no money.
Right after his first sports season, Dwayne sustained a back injury and had to give up on football completely. Decades later, he would share in detail about how he went through depression back then, dealing with the isolation and failure.
Big men really don't cry. You have to be tough through it all. You have to play through the pain and things like that. But you know, over the years you realize that A, it's unhealthy.
Psychologists who studied the secret behind Dwayne's appeal claim it's all about his vulnerability. He's an alpha on the outside, but extremely sensitive on the inside.
It's okay to f up. It happens to all of us. And be open, rip yourself open, be vulnerable.
Dwayne accepted his football career had no future and decided to rediscover himself in professional wrestling, or as he calls it,
physical soap opera, like physical theater.
Instead of a real sport, he chose the staged one. Is it because in wrestling the fighters already know the match outcome even before they step out to the ring?
And I start going crazy right here. All that crazy shit and those crazy moves, that in wrestling terms, that is called babyface fire.
Babyface Rocky Maivia was his stage name at the beginning of his wrestling career. The name and the visual identity were the WWE producer's idea, but the audience was not fond of a smiling wrestler in the third generation. Fight after fight, the crowd chanted,
Rocky sucks! Rocky sucks! Rocky sucks!
Johnson was quite hurt by all the hate, and once before a match he harshly expressed his frustration on air.
In arenas across the country, I heard chants of Rocky sucks.
I am a lot of things.
But sucks isn't one of them.
That was the moment when The Rock was born, a real bad guy, created by no one, who became the winner of different WWE championships 17 times, and now a massive part of pop culture.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking, The Rock is ready.
In the late 90s, all American teenagers copied his faces, repeating his iconic lines. By the time Dwayne was 30, his fame had gone beyond the ring. He was in video games, on magazine covers, in ads, on t-shirts, on DVDs, and there were toys of him manufactured. Dwayne confessed that at the time he already acted as a spoiled star and took pictures with fans like an arrogant jerk. Paychecks kept growing, and the first thing he did with big money, he bought a house for his parents. And for himself, he got a hugely expensive Rolex watch, which he instantly broke right in the ring. The watch was not the only thing to get damaged during the fights. Over 8 years, Johnson suffered huge amounts of trauma to his arms, legs, and shoulders. He went through 5 knee surgeries and an Achilles tendon rupture. And due to his serious injury, The Rock doesn't even have the typical beefcake six-pack.
I tore the top of my quad off my pelvis. And went bang in a wrestling match. And then what that did, that caused a chain reaction and it tore my abdomen wall. So then I had to do a triple hernia emergency surgery.
This is the price of being an industry leader, the industry which he actually planned to abandon at some point. Johnson saved up enough money to raise his newborn daughter, Simone, and fearlessly barged into the movie world.
Haku Machete!
Movie producers and his team right away started to redesign the accomplished athlete image to their taste.
I was told, again, well, if you want to be a star, then maybe you shouldn't talk about wrestling, maybe you shouldn't go to the gym as much, maybe you shouldn't raise your silly eyebrow.
Dwayne felt visibly insecure during his first promotional tour.
This is exciting! That's good. Great to see you.
His $5.5 million paycheck for the Scorpion King seemed quite potent though. It made it into the Guinness World Records book as the biggest payment for a debut role. By the way, his acclaimed autobiographical book, The Rock Says, which became a New York Times bestseller, encouraged producers' interest in Johnson. The athlete turned out to be a pretty skilled storyteller. Following his management's advice, he stopped calling himself The Rock and blindly agreed to various experimental projects.
Gotcha! Because there really wasn't a blueprint for me to follow when I came from wrestling to Hollywood.
Dwayne decided to fix the situation, and the change was drastic. He fired all the members of his team, including his agent. I felt like my career was on the precipice of fading off into the darkness. I needed everybody in the room to have faith and put our best foot forward, and I wanted to be the #1 man in the world of Hollywood in terms of box office draw. The staff purge worked wonders, and after just a year, The Rock became a part of the big budget Fast and Furious.
I ain't telling you shit. I was hoping you'd say that.
Now the DC Universe has got a hold of him. We bet he'll appear in more than just one movie, and maybe not only as Black Adam.
And you're always gonna have haters, and haters are like, well, God damn, man, how many movies are you gonna make, or how much shit are you gonna do? Like, you do a lot of shit. I say, yes, it's my ambition. Of course, why not? I could do it. Yeah, I love what I do.
He loves it indeed, but only when he's an almighty macho on the screen and not just a beat-up loser. There are even specific terms in his acting contract which cover the amount of hits he can take in the frame and restrict his heroes from losing in a fight or rolling on the ground. Even in a comedy skit, playing Bambi, Dwayne retained his same badass attitude.
What's the matter? Never seen a deer in the headlights.
Johnson stopped his dramatic experiments on purpose and found a sound reason for it. No one's gonna see me play a borderline psychopath suffering from depression. I'm gonna take care of you, the audience. You pay your hard-earned money. I don't need to bring my dark shit to you. I don't like a sad ending. Life brings that shit. I don't want it in my movies. When the credits roll, I wanna feel great. This kind of philosophy would never get him an Oscar, but Johnson was never really seeking one. However, he accepted the Golden Raspberry Award for Baywatch with great pleasure and self-irony.
I'm also excited because I was just informed that I too am bringing home the gold tonight. No, not an Oscar, maybe one day, but a Razzie. Razzie are the annual awards given out to Hollywood's worst movies, and I have officially won one.
Dwayne tries not to flaunt his private life to the public. Since he started his Hollywood career, his wife Dani was quite wary of their potential divorce. When it actually happened, the exes separated peacefully and even continued with their shared business. Dwayne admitted though, the event made him depressed and he couldn't help but to feel remorse to some extent. I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't have the ability or the capacity to stop for the moment and say, God, I'm really screwing up. Let's talk about this. Rumors say by mistake, he implies infidelity. Actress Robin Young dared to confirm these speculations, posting a tweet on the occasion of Johnson's second marriage. Dwayne was 32 back then, and Robin was 49. In his autobiography, Johnson touched upon the topic of being attracted to older women, but the contradiction is that his second wife, Lauren Heshan, is 12 years younger than him, with whom Dwayne became a father to 2 more daughters.
What can I say except you're welcome?
They had a very modest wedding ceremony in Hawaii. Instead of a lavish reception, they had a simple breakfast for just 4 of them.
Why would you have a wedding at 7:45 in the morning?
I mean, I had to work out. I had like the 8 o'clock.
Staying fit is essential for Johnson. For that, every morning he wakes up at 4 a.m. and goes to his private gym, which is stationed in each of his houses around the world. If he ever goes on a business trip, just imagine, he takes the gym with him.
There's like multiple 18-wheelers. It's a big deal, big crew brings it up. They work their ass off, they set it up. But again, for me, it becomes my anchors.
Dwayne can easily have that luxury. His net worth is estimated at $800 million. His multi-millionaire lifestyle includes owning some private jets, exclusive sports cars, and even manufacturing his own tequila. In 2021, his tequila brand demonstrated the fastest sales growth in the history of any alcoholic beverage. Together with his ex-wife, Johnson also owns a digital production company called $7, which is exactly how much money he had in his pocket when Dwayne's father came to pick him up from Canada.
That's why everything in my life is called $7.
As we already know, Johnson's football career did not work out when he was 23, but by 50, he now owns an entire XFL American League. He finds pleasure in spending money, and buying expensive gifts is his way to express gratitude to the world and people.
And I thank you for buying me my first car from that crackhead. And now I have an opportunity now to tell you, this is your new car. Oh my God.
Johnson gifted this pickup to a man who provided temporary housing for him and his mom when they became homeless. He also surprised a combat veteran fan with the gift of an orange Ford Mustang in recognition of her brave military service. His older daughter, Simone, already continues the family dynasty.
She's the first 4th generation of pro wrestlers in WWE, WT. And I always like to say that name, Ava Raine, can mean a lot of things, but to me, in my mind, it means she's gonna lay the smackdown on Candy asses.
What Dwayne Johnson tries to avoid talking about is his political ambitions. To be more precise, his future presidency.
I thought you wanted to run for president. This is no way to do that.
We're saving the best.
I see.
for last.
Okay, that's a positive spin.
In 2021, his company introduced an autobiographical sitcom, Young Rock, where Dwayne plays himself in the year 2032, being a US presidential candidate. So what was that about? Just a PR move? Or maybe The Rock is actually planning to break into politics? Do you smell what the president is cooking? Let us know down in the comments.